What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Hands On Channel. Today we're going to get into some news that I think is really important. And part of the reason I do these videos is because I don't feel like this news is getting nearly enough coverage and not enough shares and stuff like that. So even if you don't share my video, please share this information or go read it yourself. And then if you think it's legit, then share it yourself. But there's just tons and tons of news. I'm going to try to just kind of hit and just talk a little bit about each one so that I don't make the video too darn long. But there's a new poll out today. Biden's approval rating plunges to 36% despite enormous media support. I mean, enormous. Almost all of the mainstream, 100% of the mainstream media, including Fox, because they're mainstream now, have given Biden enormous support and haven't asked the hard questions to this guy. So, 36%, to me, that still sounds alarmingly high. I can't hardly believe that 36% of people actually think he's doing a good job. His approval would be good. It's still bizarre to me. Those are the people that they must just be only watching the mainstream media and they have no idea of what's really going on because all they see is the bread and circus and the clown show that is the mainstream media. So anyways, there were several stories I wanted to touch on. That was one of them. His approval rating is 36% and falling. It's been falling like 2 or 3 points every week. So obviously most Americans are starting to wake up to this and they're saying, hey, wait a minute, hit the brakes here. We're not all into your build back better and first destroy everything in the process. No. And all of the stuff he did at the COP26 BS, climate change BS, basically, I don't know if this was there, but they've been pushing a methane tax and all this other stuff, and they're trying to basically get rid of the internal combustion engine and the use of oil and fossil fuels. It's just completely ridiculous. So if they would spend just a little bit of time researching that, not just gasoline and diesel comes from, the production and drilling for fossil fuels. In fact, plastics and probably 80 or 90% of the products that when you're sitting at your house, you're looking around, your computer screen that you're looking at or your cell phone, whatever, all of that stuff is derived from oil. So there's no way to get us off of oil. It's just not going to happen. And, there was a great article on the American Thinker where they were talking about all of these different times throughout history, all the way back to like 1910, where they've been saying it's peak oil, basically. They didn't call it peak oil because that word hadn't been invented yet in 1910. But they started saying in 1910 that, we've only probably got about 5 or 10 years left and then we're going to run out of oil. So this has been going on, this rumor that where there's only so much oil, and now it's shifted over to pollution, which again, these same people have been echoing BS throughout the years, all over and over and over. Al Gore, and even further back when Spock, Leonard Nimoy, did the whole documentary about, the Ice Age, the new Ice Age that was coming. So these people have no freaking clue. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. But one thing they do know how to do is scare people and get their money out of their pockets. That's what this has always been about. That's what it's currently about. That's what's going on now. We're being sold out to the highest bidder. And one of the reasons I wanted to make this video today was one of the most important stories I saw. So you have to preface this a little bit. About a week or two ago, one of Biden's energy secretaries was asked if they were going to, up the production of the domestic strategic oil reserve. So the strategic oil supply that we have. And of course, under Trump, I remember this because, again, I'm in an oil state. And there was all kinds of new oil containers built because they couldn't hold all of the oil that was being pumped out. When we were truly energy independent under Trump, oil was plentiful. We had all of our containers so full, you couldn't put any more in them, and they were having to build more. They couldn't hire enough people to build the tanks fast enough to get the oil out of the Gulf of Mexico. So under Trump, instead of shipping containers sitting off the coast, we had oil rigs sitting off the coast, waiting to offload their stuff because we couldn't put it anywhere. We didn't have any facilities left that weren't already full to the gills. So Trump left Biden with a full strategic oil reserve, probably the fullest it's ever been in the history of the United States, right? So somebody asked Biden, and they asked his energy secretary or whatever, if they were going to do anything and tap into that to reduce the fuel prices. And the energy secretary laughed, and Biden said no, he didn't think there was anything he could do about it. So fast forward to today and this article that just, blew my mind. I couldn't believe this guy is this freaking brazen. It's totally showing exactly what this guy is and who he works for. With oil prices up more than 60% in a year, Biden decides to sell U.S. oil reserves overseas to Asia. My God, are you freaking kidding me? And apparently they've already been doing this for a little while. It's just now the story's coming out about it. If you go read this story, and I recommend you do, it's basically the point of the story is that everything Biden is doing is to destroy America. It's to cause chaos. I saw an article, speaking of chaos, an article earlier about the military and the forced V and all that stuff, how it's causing chaos amongst the ranks. That's what they want to do. That's why they did it. So it was like the 5th or 6th Circuit that threw out that case, and basically said that you can't have OSHA going around and mandating this stuff. Where's that on the mainstream news? You're not hearing very much about that at all. They like to skim over the stuff that doesn't suit their agenda and only focus on the things that does suit their agenda. So we've got so many things going on. We've got the biggest trial maybe in a century going on. Especially as it pertains to the Second Amendment and your right to self-defense, which is very important. That's what's on trial right now in the Rittenhouse case. It's not Kyle Rittenhouse. It's your and my right to defend yourself against a mob. That's what it is. Now you could say, oh, he shouldn't have been there, whatever. That doesn't matter. He was there. He had the AR. He had been called there. They're trying to say he's a racist. For one thing, if I'm Rittenhouse and I get acquitted on this deal, I would sue every single person that called me a white supremacist or a racist or anything like that without any proof of that and without any kind of real, they're just trying to stir things up and make this about race when it had nothing to do with race. All 3 people that Rittenhouse took care of that night were all white people. So Rittenhouse didn't go killing a bunch of black people and didn't look for that, but they're trying to make it seem like that. They're so far gone that they'll believe anything that the talking heads tell them. That's the sad reality of it. They're so drunk on the Kool-Aid, you could show them the proof right there before their eyes. A great example of that is how some people react to the new V data. I'm not allowed to talk about that. You'll have to go do your own research, but there's all kinds of information that people that have had the V aren't actually protected from the Rona. So, I don't know. I didn't take it. You'll have to let me know down in the comments if you're one of the people that did take it. Do you feel protected? Are you confident, or do you feel like you need to go in and get that 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th booster? Huh? When does it end, people? When do you draw the line? Is it the 10th booster? Is it the 24th booster? How about this one? Last week I read an article about how actually scientists are working on ways to put the V inside of your food that you eat. So isn't that going to be wonderful? For your own good, they're going to give everybody in the country, put us on this experimental food, this, genetically modified food that's meant to distribute a V to everyone in the country, whether you should or shouldn't have one or not. They're not talking about anyone that may have health issues. I had a buddy of mine that he went through some stuff here recently, some digestive stomach gut problems that he had to have surgery on, and his doctor basically told him, no, you can't get it. This stuff will cause inflammation and it could kill you. So I'm not telling you what to do, but that's what my buddies had to go through. So that he had to do that to keep his job. That's why he had to go get an exemption. So unfreaking believable. Unfreaking believable. You can't tell me this guy, Biden, ain't doing every single bit of this on purpose to destroy the system, to bring in his Cloward and Piven, Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, basically ruin the United States of America and build it into some sort of socialist communist utopia where you encourage illegal aliens to come over to the border because you're talking about paying them up to $450,000 per child, per person. That not even just child, it's per person. So each family could end up getting over $1 million. How does that sit with you when Americans are sent home in coffins with flags over the top of those, and the families don't get anywhere near that. When last year and this year they sent out little stimulus checks, meanwhile people are starving to death and can't keep their lights turned on, and the government sends you what, $600, $1,200? Did they send you $450,000 and I just don't know about it? I didn't get it or something? I don't know. Where do you draw the line, Americans? This is it. This is the battle for our soul, the soul of the nation. Liberty, truth, justice, equal justice. That used to mean something, but now, like Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle's not on trial. The right to self-defense is on trial. And man, speaking of that, the news today about the MSNBC people following the jurors around. There's people outside the courthouse openly threatening the jurors. I think it was like George Floyd's nephew or something. He did some video where they were threatening to the jurors about, hey, if you guys vote the wrong way, we're going to come get you. We're going to find out where you live. And here's the MSNBC trying to follow them around, running red lights and such. Got kicked out of the courtroom. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Where do you draw the line? Are you going to let your town burn? Or are you going to, do like Kyle Rittenhouse did and go out there and defend property? I don't know. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just saying these are questions we all have to ask. I think the brave young man needs to be completely acquitted. And with all the evidence that I've seen, he should be, rightfully so. Everything he did was in the name of self-defense. He didn't go out and start any crap with anyone. But yet we've got this mock trial going on and these prosecutors that are just like dumb and dumber. I'm not a lawyer and I don't even speak lawyer speak, but I could tell these guys they must be brought in by Soros or something, because surely the state prosecuting attorneys in states are not that dumb. So anyways, I digress. But yeah, the oil's way up, Biden's selling our reserves to Asia, but he's not going to let any go here so that we can get out of this hole that we're in. So I've got 3 stories here that I think is bombshell. It could be. It might not be anything. It might just turn into nothing, but we should be aware of this and paying attention to this. So headline, is the smallpox pandemic next? Mystery vials found at Merrick Lab in Philly facility. And I went and read the article. I suggest you do too. But basically what happened is inside this Merrick facility in Philly, some technician was in there working and he stumbles across these several vials that were labeled smallpox. And he's like, whoa, hey, wait a minute, what's this? Now they were frozen and they were in a freezer, so it wasn't like they were sitting out on the curb somewhere or anything like that. But still, there's only 2 approved facilities that's supposed to handle smallpox. One of them is the CDC, and I can't remember who the other one is. Probably the Wuhan lab in China. So anyhow, long story short, this guy just suddenly finds smallpox, and it's not supposed to be there. Well, that alone would be a bombshell story. But when you combine it with this next story, 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates warned of a sudden smallpox terror threat. Is it a coincidence? It could possibly be. But as you read this article, you'll find out that Bill Gates is pushing the federal government to get all this smallpox stuff going and be worried about smallpox, and that we should do this new research. It's basically to get his R&D, research and development projects off the ground related to smallpox and other stuff like that, because he wants to be ahead, because all he wants to do is protect me and you, the people that can't protect ourselves. See, we got Daddy Gates out there, and he's got us under his wing. So we're good, people. Don't worry about it. Bill Gates is on the scene. I mean, it's like, I've put the meme up. I'll put it up again over here. Gates and Fauci are little prick and the jab man. That's who they are. It's just unfreaking believable. But these guys, they're our saviors, and we're supposed to believe, according to the MSM, that, they're looking out for our best interests. So Bill Gates warned about, a sudden smallpox terror threat. I mean, and then suddenly 2 weeks later, they find mystery smallpox stuff that shouldn't have been there in this place in Philly. And those 2 stories alone are, maybe you could say, well, that's probably just a coincidence, right? I mean, smallpox, it was like eradicated way back in the day. And the only vials that are left, or the only way it exists, is in these 2 labs, so it's pretty well controlled, right? I mean, you got nothing to worry about. These people that have it under control, they're looking out for our best interests, just like the people down at the Wuhan lab, don't you see? Anyway, so those 2 first stories, that would be pretty bombshell just by itself. But then you read the third story. U.S. government just bought $113 million of obscure smallpox drug. Why would they do that? Just out of the blue, smallpox has been eradicated, but yet Bill Gates is pressuring them and saying, hey man, there might be some smallpox break. Maybe the federal government knows something we don't know. Now, 113 million in that obscure drug, that might not be enough. That might only be enough for the upper echelon because that's all they want to survive. So guys, look out. I think smallpox, based on my knowledge of it, is way worse. I mean, way more deadly than anything we've seen so far. And I have to be careful what I say on this YouTube channel because, again, I'm not allowed to criticize anything about the CDC or the FDA or the EPA or the Biden administration or, anything to do with CRT or anything basically that YouTube deems that I can't say. In fact, even the Rittenhouse thing, I haven't been saying anything about it because I'm worried they're going to ban my video for having an opinion on the Rittenhouse case. That's how freaking crazy woke everything has gotten. I think it's starting to backfire on them to some degree, but it may be too little too late is my fear, and we've already started to spiral down. We're off the cliff. We're over the edge of the cliff now. So we're heading toward the abyss. Maybe somebody can save us. Maybe we can save ourselves. I think really the only way realistically to save yourself now is, and save as many people as you can, but save yourself first. And you do that by being as self-reliant as you possibly can. As, even if you're not practicing self-reliance right now fully, be able to be self-reliant. And you should be practicing it because we're getting close, guys. I think we all feel it. They're trying to break the entire system. I didn't even go into anything about the economy, but as you know, the inflation's off the charts and everything's going up except our paychecks. So I don't understand how that works, but Biden's Build Back Better plan is behind every single bit of it. Keep your head on a swivel, guys. Things are getting real, and you might want to consider adding into your preps some sort of NBC masks that you could put on in case there is some sort of a biological attack like that smallpox thing that Bill Gates is trying to get going. If it's up to him and Fauci, we'll all be locked down real soon. So stay prepared, guys. Keep your head on a swivel. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too. We'll see you next time.